The first step in a dream takes you further than 1,000 in this world. Unending filth spills forth like blood from a severed jugular. These nightmares can be ended. They can be conquered. Always stay clear in thought, even amidst intoxicating triumph. The veil may not be pierced so easily as flesh. Greater nightmares yet live. Death is but a chance for rebirth. The mediocre turned remarkable. Curiosity is followed by ambition. Ambition is followed by madness. Failure, ambivalence, death. A final abyss of unending darkness. What can be found in a dream? A bigger dream. This is the key to a crucible that stretches the sanity of the mind. Orb of fusing. Chaos orb. Val orb. Regal orb. Blessed orb. Orb of alchemy. An orb of immense power. Divine orb. Such grace is seldom seen in this world of the damned. Exalted orb. An exhilarating sensation of victory. If only for a brief moment. The Mirror of Calandra. Ultimate. Immeasurable. Indescribable. This is the crucible. The nexus of nothingness. And equilibrium of the end. This is the crucible. The anvil upon which worlds are forged and broken. You too will break. Imperfect. Imperfect. Irrelevant. Insubstantial. Insignificant. Inconsequential. Behold the face of your unmaking. Imperfection must be reshaped. You must be reshaped. The end is the beginning. It must be perfect. Everything short of perfection is irrelevant. Zana, you were my greatest creation. An end undone. No matter. The void remains. One more lost world. Insignificant. Convolution. Aberration. Augmentation. Another lost. So be it. The abyss will provide. There are always more. Inconsequential. We create so that some part of us may remain after death. As the torch flickers, brilliance emerges in boundless variance. Heat, dust, wind, these are what forge strong minds and bodies. Verdant canopies shroud the world in darkness. A paradise, forever replenished by endless waves teeming with life. Repetition, convention, duplication, creation distilled to perfection. Amongst the rabble, brutality is the law. As mirage becomes reality, hardship is briefly quenched. Water vanishes, an impromptu prison becomes a tomb. In darkness, beast and man alike clamor to survive. The stone cannot stop the torrent, it can only divert it. Trapped in absolute darkness, despair, panic, terror. Embraced by mud, grasped by roots, the careless are silently swallowed. Affluence and effluence, separated by a few feet of soil. A good slave is driven by only two thoughts, service and sacrifice. They came for enlightenment, but were imprisoned by madness. The water brings life. The poison takes it away. A penitentiary for those who are not penitent is nothing more than an inn for the evil. Unknown legacies, untold stories. Every movement is watched, recorded, remembered. Wealth is powerless to stop the corroding force of time. Verdant life blossoms amidst death. Vile fiends hide beneath the peaceful plains. The farmer no longer ploughs or sows. Only the flattened soil remains, shifting, morphing, expanding, a reminder of the virtues of an agile mind. Barren and sun-bleached, emptiness as far as the eye can reach. Blood turns the soil to mud, a dough of bad blood, a yeast of ill will. Panic only hastens the venom's passage to the heart. We ascend to great heights to commit low acts. A deep wound in the land, one that will never heal. Many hands may move a mountain. Rats chase their tails for the amusement of fools. A wall is the surest sign for raiders that there is something of value to take. Each branch, each leaf, an extension of a web that spans sanity. Nothing good washes up on this dark shore. Little light enters, no life escapes. This was not the first civilization to believe itself the greatest, and it will not be the last. Reach out into the abyss, and the abyss reaches back. They feel your every move, your every breath, with a million little wires. When the castle falls, it has failed its only purpose. The dead ask to be remembered, but such requests are seldom met. Life crushed together, left to crumble to dust. Small minds demand the largest structures, desperately reaching skyward and digging downwards. Sustenance is an eternal struggle. Filth springs forth like blood from a severed jugular. Man is not the only beast to bend nature to its will. The sound of 1,000 calls for blood echo for eternity. Layer upon layer of death and rot, disgusting. A stone forest of forgotten names. Man burrows for only the eternal hibernation. Time turns even the vicious volcanoes to hollow shells. Man's reach extends into the ocean, clawing at its infinite depths. Each life, each act, as fleeting as footprints in the sand. The temptations of paradise draws forth the good and the bad alike. The dark seas swallow the careless and spit them against sharp rocks. Saints and heathens look the same once the rot takes hold. Ancient artifacts and beautiful baubles, all paid for in blood. The fruit that grows from bloody ground tastes the sweetest. A once great monument, now a forgotten memorial. Even the greatest achievements will eventually be abandoned. Each plank of rotting wood, each dead sailor, feeds the island and makes it grow. Immaculate white stone rises from the abyss. Perfection. There is no war, there is no army, only fear lingers. There is no war, there is no army, only rage lingers. An elaborate, beautiful garden, hidden from the public. Selfish. Boils swell from the earth, foul, malignant flesh without purpose. The wealthy foolishly battle the ocean for domain. Vibrant colors dash across the gray, consuming man's work. Life, like still water, becomes trapped, stagnant, foul. Greed is the only god here. Beauty and brutality, in such close proximity. Two unexplored frontiers remain, the skies and the soil. Crushed together and fenced in to live out their lives like cattle. Who is the true criminal, the one behind bars, or the one who tortures him? Silent stillness. The waters are as cold as they are black. A white bone stripped of its fertile flesh. Life spirals towards its end. Fiend and fortune hunter alike turned to ash. A sorry alliance of unending agony. Where land springs from water, life will shortly follow. Even in death, we long to be close to one another. Steep cliffs divide where the trees may grow and where they may not. Man and nature intertwined, but only for the chosen few. Home only to misery now. The stone and lumber sleeps. The captains are long dead. Only the sea knows their end. Wealth beyond imagining, locked beyond reach. In darkness, the Alpha rises. The companionship of beasts is fragile indeed. Fire ignites the sky, a signal to keep away, an invitation to invade. We must all walk the narrow winding path. The end is always the same. A garden on a stone pedestal, an incredible and foolish feat. Drought took the plants, famine took the people. Knowledge balanced atop a vast pit. Hold on, or perish in the darkness of ignorance. A pocket of life blooms in the lava fields. In time, it too will wither and die. A river in the sky, far from that which so desperately needs it. They live trapped forever in darkness and confusion. We are no different. God's jar of raw materials, life lying dormant, waiting to sprout. Death forces even the most determined of despots to pass the crown. Black tiles don't stain so easily. Clear water springs forth, a moment of purity, before it too gathers filth. Tremble in the might of the flames. Lightless fire creeps across the earth, unnatural, fearful. Life means as little as a passing moment of entertainment. Let them rot. Black monstrous bridges cross oily rivers leading nowhere. Nothing as it should be. The trees grow twisted and gnarled, without a hint of light. A curse lingers here. Only fear remains unforgotten, where once magnificent rites drew important crowds. One of my captors hid a beast within his heart. I brought it out. I made his true self known. One of my captors wore many faces, yet kept her true face hidden. Now she cannot escape her true face. One of my captors felt no emotion. He did not hesitate to inflict pain. Now all he feels is intense, unstoppable agony. One of my captors refused redemption. He did not see value in a new life. Now new life surrounds him. Welcome to the crucible of creation, the anvil upon which worlds are forged. Voices, visions, violence. They will haunt these grounds for all eternity. Embraced by misery, gaze into the abyss. Ultimate chaos. A howl from the void. Come to the edge of the abyss. Imperfect! Imperfect! Irrelevant! Insubstantial! Insignificant! Inconsequential! The rays have become an almost nightly occurrence. The neighborhood is changing. Septimus and his family have not been seen for a week, and I fear the rumors of the High Templar's secret trials and exiles may be true. High Templar Venarius is far more puritanical than Evenval, and has been vigilantly tracking down and destroying important historical texts and artifacts that he deems heretical. It seems as though he is also getting rid of those who own such items. He doesn't see that without history there is no progress, or he just doesn't care. I'm not sure which is more dangerous. I can't in good conscience let important information simply vanish. I have a responsibility to my family and to the world, to ensure that the boundaries of knowledge are pushed ever forward, no matter the risk. As I left the academy this morning, blurry-eyed and sleepless, my daughter followed me again. I tucked her back in bed and kissed her goodbye. I worry about the world she will grow up in. There's a chance that I might survive living in exile, but she is still just a child. She needs me. I will have to be careful. High Templar Venalius and his inquisitors paid a visit to the academy today, closely guarding a heavy box they brought with them. When I inquired as to its origin, I was promptly reminded that such matters were none of my business, and that my only concern would be the assembly and operation of its contents. One can only assume that it came from another secret expedition to Rayclast. Upon examination of the contents, I was bewildered. The intricate golden instruments within steer the mind towards navigation tools, yet are far more refined. Imagine something akin to a sextant, or an astrolabe, but 100 times more intricate, more precise. Imagine scales and measurements, with proportions and axes that defy logic. Once correctly assembled, I expect these pieces to form some kind of device. Though its purpose and function for now remain a mystery, whatever it is, this device is either the work of a madman or a genius. Perhaps both. This golden device is truly incredible. There's so much to take in, so many minute details to examine, any one of which could unlock the device's mysteries. Intense thought and exhaustion seem to have got the better of me, for I am ashamed to say I must have dozed off and fallen asleep in my chair. I do not normally remember my dreams, but this time they were so vibrant, so realistic. One moment I was walking in a verdant field of flowers, whose aromas wafted sweetly through the warm air. The next I stood on a towering mountain peak, high above the clouds, harsh winds buffeting my back. It all melded together, yet felt so real. I don't even remember waking, but I must have done, since I clearly recall showing my daughter a map of Theopolis, while still trying to shake the events of the day out of my head. Tonight, I fear, may be yet another restless night. Today, in the presence of the golden device, I slipped into yet more dreams. Mountains that reached far into the clouds, with no sign of any summit. Woods warm and dense and tangled with vines. Caverns larger than this entire city, yet so quiet you could hear a butterfly flap its wings. Unfamiliar beaches that reached into the horizon, where I took off my shoes, and I could feel the cold, wet sand shifting between my toes. It all seemed so real. This device is nothing short of a miracle. I seem to be able to exert some degree of control over my dreams now. I can explore for days, wandering in these fantastical worlds with no sensation of hunger or urgency. But I worry what influence this may be having on my mind. When I tried to leave today, I could not find my shoes. Perhaps someone is playing a trick on me. Perhaps I'm playing a trick on myself. At least my pounding headache provided ample distraction from the embarrassment of walking home barefoot. Are my dreams becoming reality, or is my reality falling into a dream? I found myself in a darkened room, and beyond the door came whispers of a long dead language. Stumbling through, I discovered a chamber filled with bones, small, like those of children, placed around an altar caked with layer upon layer of dried blood. That peculiar arrangement was one I know I've seen before, the kind that is only found in forbidden tomes of civilizations long lost. As I neared, the echoing whispers grew louder and more desperate, threatening to engulf me entirely. So I fled, running blindly, my heart in my mouth. Before I knew it, I was outside, out of breath, and stumbling through vicious brambles. Drenched in sweat, I finally returned to my workshop, my robes shredded, my legs badly bloodied. This was real. I was there. I felt every thorn, every sharp stone. I felt the excruciating despair of every life cut short in that vile chamber. Oh, my sweet, sweet daughter, I pray to innocence that you never have to witness the things I have seen. Shortly afterwards, High Templar Venalius himself stormed in with his personal guard. His words were polite yet abrupt, his manner impatient. He pointed at the bloodied, balled-up robe sitting by my workbench, which I tried to explain away as a mere accident while working on the device. They departed, but the High Templar's displeasure was evident. Another worry to add to the pile. The cuts to my legs are shallow, yet still they bleed, even so many hours later. My body may have escaped that ancient temple, but I fear it may have forever trapped a piece of my soul. They took my daughter. They took my daughter. They took her from my home and threatened her life. They threatened to kill her if I didn't tell them everything I knew. They meant it. I should have been more careful, but I wasn't. 4 of the High Templar's personal guard escorted my daughter into my lab. They demanded to see what I have seen. I knew they would call me a heretic. I've seen what they do to heretics and their families. I had to save my baby girl. I watched them fall into dream, and I chose my moment to strike. I grabbed her hand and gripped it tight, and I threw the device into the ground. I watched it fracture into 10,000 golden pieces. I felt a tight grip on my shoulder, and I watched the world ripple like the surface of a pond disturbed by a stone. I was being pulled into the dream, and so was she. I let her go. I had to let her go. I felt my daughter's tiny fingers slip through mine. Gone. Gone. I saw nothingness swirling before my eyes. I saw the fabric of creation in its most primordial form. I felt the Templar's grip loosen and slip away. I lay there, in the emptiness between worlds, for an eternity. Then, for the first time in my life, I truly awoke. Force is met with force. Push against the earth, and the earth pushes back. But if you quiet the earth, if the earth slumbers beneath your hand, it does not resist, and you slip through. Push hard enough against the sleeping earth, and you enter the emptiness between worlds. Push farther into that, and you fall into another world altogether. Oriath is an island on an island, in a sea whose depths know no limits, and whose every drop hides an infinite number of yet more islands. My sweet daughter lies stranded, lost in the tumultuous abyss. That world is not for her. No world in the countless I have seen is worthy of her, worthy of being home for her, for us. We people have sprung up independently across the abyss like a blight, and like a blight, all we leave in our wake rots, decays, suffers. If I cannot find a world where my daughter and I might be happy, I will create one. I will forge a world anew, breathe life into it, and create the paradise we deserve. Then I will ensure that no blight may ever sprout again.